Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Fueling Tomorrow. I'm your host, Erin Bailey, and today we are joined by our Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Danny Wesson. And Danny, thank you so much for coming on today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're so excited to hear more about your story, and we're going to start from when you started at Diamondback, which was in 2012. You're part of the original crew.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about your journey from operations engineer to Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah. When I came to work at Diamondback, we were, obviously a very small company, very, very close knit, but we had, obviously a lot of the same problems we have today, but not as many people to solve them. So, you kind of just got into a groove where you figured out how to be solutions oriented and you probably wanted to gripe or whine sometimes, but there was nobody to gripe or whine to because we were all trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And so it was really the kind of the foundation of the work style that I embraced was just trying to figure out how to build a better mousetrap, how to solve the problem, and really how to ensure success for everybody. And in those days, it felt like everyone relied on each other to kind of pick up the weight and carry it because we didn't have all the ancillary help that we have today. We didn't have a government affairs group. We didn't have we didn't have a communications team. We didn't have a massive regulatory team. We were having to wear all these hats and do our day jobs. So it really became coming to work every day and just figure out what was in front of you and wrap your arms around it and get after it. And it was really, really tons of fun. And then, as the company continued to grow, that mindset and that solutions mindset and that growth mindset really led me to look for any opportunities that I could be helpful. And so as the company grew and there were holes that needed to be filled or gaps in growth, I was willing to step into those. And I never really asked to be put in any role or position, but I just I did what I was asked, and that meant moving into a completions leadership role, and then into a vice president of operations, overseeing our Delaware operations role. After we acquired the Brigham assets in Pecos County, and then just kind of expanded my leadership roles and operations to becoming COO. After COVID, so it's been a great journey. The company's been, on a tremendous growth trajectory, and I've watched my career personally bloom and grow along with the company, which has really been awesome.
When you started in 2012, an operations engineer, you really don't know what to expect. Like you said, you were kind of learning along the way. Did you ever think Diamondback would get to be the size it is today?
Yeah, I don't know what I thought. I think when I decided to come over to Diamondback, or to at the time Windsor Permian, which was the predecessor to Diamondback, I had a good job. I really enjoyed the people I worked with and the company I worked for. But the people at Diamondback I had worked with in the past, and really had a lot of trust in them, and knew how intelligent and how honest they were. And in particular, I knew that there was a couple of individuals that were at Diamondback at the time, a couple of the founders who I knew that if they were at Diamondback, the assets had to be good because they knew better than anyone I knew what good assets were. And so, there's a saying that, a good management team can't make bad assets great, but a bad management team can make good assets bad. And so, I knew that it was a good management team, and I knew there had to be good assets. So I took a chance. I didn't really know where it was going to go or where it was going to lead. I kind of had an entrepreneurial kind of fire in me. I was young. I was in my, mid to late 20s. And I wanted to take a risk, learn about building a business. And, looking back, I really didn't think all that through very well. And it
It paid
just,
off.
luck kind of finds its way into things sometimes. And so it ended up working out. But yeah, I think we certainly been through some peaks and valleys at Diamondback, and one of those valleys, I'm sure everybody's heard the story of trying to market the company before we went
Mhm.
public for a private sale, and not being able to even get an offer for the company. And that for me was probably a good thing, because I was like, oh great, I can still have a job. But for the rest of the founders, they were like, oh, they're pretty down on it. But I just wanted to be a part of something where I could learn and be able to take that new experience and apply it to the rest of my career. I didn't know where that was going to take me, but I've been blessed to have it take me, for 13 years counting, a Diamondback now, and we got a lot more road to go.
Yeah, and since 2012, the oil and gas industry has changed a lot,
Yeah.
especially on the operations side. What are some processes or technologies that stand out to you?
It's hard for me to pick one technology or one process, but I think if you just generally imagine what we were doing at the time we went public as an industry, and really focused on vertical wolfberry development, and those wells, the time it was taking us to drill them, the dollars we were spending, to where we are today. I mean, we would plan for 2 to 3 wells per rig per month. In the vertical wolfberry days, and so each rig you're drilling, 24 30 wells a year. And now we're drilling 24 to 30 wells a year per rig horizontally.
Mhm,
And we are drilling on average 11,500 foot of lateral a well. So, you know, still drilling that vertical part of the well bore, and then adding another 2.5 miles, and accomplishing all of that in the same period of time as we were drilling when we were drilling Wolfberry wells. So, that's really an incredible feat. And then, on the completion side, I was thinking back on the Wolfberry wells, we probably had 3,000 foot of interval that we were completing, and we would typically do that in a day and a half to 2 days. So, we were doing, call it, 2,000 foot of vertical well, a day. And now we're completing 4 to 5,000 feet of horizontal lateral footage a day. And so just the speed and the efficiencies that we have gained operationally. And then, just the volumes, that we're able to produce. Uh, you know, I know everybody knows, hey, Diamondback used to produce 4,500 BOE a day at the time of IPO. Now we're at 950,000 BOE a day
mhm,
in 13 years. That's an incredible growth story. And a lot of that sure has been through M&A, but we've also drilled a ton of wells, and it's really just a remarkable story, that looking at the industry, how we've pivoted from this, these very marginal vertical producers that people were building companies around, to now, very prolific horizontal development, that we're building truly, global changing,
mhm.
productivity profiles around in this basin.
And how do you think that speaks to the team that you have with you at Diamondback?
Yeah, we've got, I think, the best team in oil and gas, and I know that's probably a little prejudice for me, but I mean that, because you just look at the output. The team we have is humble. We always talk about, and one of my big mantras is demonstrate a humble curiosity. And we can be the best. A lot of teams are given a lot of times are given accolades to say, hey, well, you're the best driller, or you're the lowest cost driller, or you're the best completer, you're the lowest cost completer, you're the best producer, lowest what a cost producer, whatever. But the team takes an approach of, we might be all in all considered the best, but there's somebody somewhere doing something better than we are, and we got to find out what they're doing and how do we implement that.
Mhm,
And that humble curiosity, I think, is really what drives a lot of our success. And just the lack of, that that humble curiosity in itself, by definition, means that there's a lack of ego, and I think what makes our team so special is just that lack of ego, and the fact that everybody can go talk to anyone about anything and brainstorm ideas and feel confident that they can share their idea and not be turned away or dismissed. That they can be embraced and that we can have a true discussion around it. And that makes work fun. And I think
Mhm.
makes people enjoy coming into the office and being able to feel like they can contribute and be a part of a healthy debate.
Have there been moments where you've gotten brought into some of those things where the people are spitballing ideas where you're like, "Wow, that's a great point, like, let's go find it."
I think that happens almost on a daily, if not daily, then definitely on a weekly basis. We always, tend to kind of kick over some stone and figure out some, new trick or new mousetrap. And I think what we're really good at is analyzing that approach or that idea and figuring out how scalable it is, and if it's
Mhm.
scalable, scaling it quickly. And you know, I, we often say, hey, we don't want to be the tip of the spear and experimentation and trying new things. We want to be a fast follower, but I think we're kind of a hybrid. I think in a lot of ways we are the tip of the spear, but we do so in a very measured approach, very engineering and physics fundamentals driven, and it allows us to take measured risks and go experiment and see where we can figure out, where's that next piece of fruit on the tree that I can go grab. And sometimes it's a little bite, but sometimes we find big bites and totally unexpected, and it changes the game for us.
And where do you see technology and everything in field operations evolving from here?
I think embracing the digital world is going to help drive a new era in productivity gains in our industry. We've done an incredible job over the past decade of embracing digital technology, embracing data, not just in the office. The office is always, of course, the technically driven people are always embracing data and what can we do with data. But I give credit to the field organization and what they're doing with data and with digital technology and automation, and
Mhm.
that robust acceptance of digital transformation with the kind of advent of AI here is going to, I believe, change the game for us. I think where I see AI really helping us um, is eliminate the time to discovery. So we spend a lot of time today trying to figure out what the problem is or where there's a problem. I had a board member recently kind of tell me he equates that to a fire department driving around looking for a fire, and so I said, it's true though. We spend a lot of time just kind of seeking out discovery of where there's something that's broken or where something's not right. And I think AI is going to help us eliminate that time to seek that stuff out and drive us to, here's the problem. Now you guys go find the solution. And then hopefully one day deliver a solution for us that we just have to go implement.
Mhm.
So I do believe that it's going to change the way we work. I don't think that it's necessarily going to replace jobs. I think it's going to help make jobs easier, which in effect will help us, not have to hire as many people going forward as we continue to grow this business. But I do think the jobs will be better, and it'll contribute to a better, I don't call it work life balance, because we're we no longer go to work and then separate it from our life. It's like a work life relationship because work and life are so symbiotic today.
Mhm.
And I think it'll help drive a better work life relationship for our field people as we continue to implement it in our business.
And as you look towards 2026, what's on the horizon for next year? What are some goals you have for your teams?
First off, just to continue to optimize our world class asset, and continue to, we always joke in our leadership meetings about finding more oil for less money, and the team always jokes with me like the great leadership speak. But I mean, honestly, that's what we're trying to do, right? Is to produce more and spend less, and I think can we continue to optimize that asset with that same humble curiosity approach and continue to widen the gap between Diamondback and others. And look, I think that's been our secret sauce. And so more of that in 26, more leaning into digital, and more leaning into how do we continue to optimize the mature production that we have, and not just solely focus on the drill bit, which is where we've done so great, and we've been so focused. And we're going to continue to be focused there. But where's the fruit hanging on the mature production that we have in the field, and how do we get more out of that?
As you look back on your path to leadership, what are some qualities you think are essential for leaders in today's energy industry?
It's important that everybody have kind of their core beliefs or mantras, right? I call them my mantras. But you have to have values that you can truly believe in, that you can um, you know reinforce in your day to day, as in your conversations with people, and your in whatever strategies you're trying to set forth. And so everybody's kind of central value system or central beliefs are different, but should be genuinely or generally, sorry, aligned. Um, and mine are pretty simple, right? I've always believed that you know we don't own anything here. We're everything that we have on this earth is rented to us, and that we have a stewardship to take care of it and to deliver it better than we received it. um, and that's our responsibility as humanity. And I feel like you can take that responsibility in anything you do every day, and including work. And so, that's kind of my first thing. And I think if you can take that approach of just that, how do I come in every day and bring this kind of, I'm gonna make today better than yesterday, or today better than when I walked in this morning, whether that's making yourself better, making your teammate better, or making an engineering problem better. My second thing I talked about was, have a humble curiosity, right? And just embrace the fact that there's 1,000 different ways to do everything, and your way may not always be the best way. And so always seek out, hey, what are the other options, and why is it that the way I want to do this may not be the best way. And my third thing is, and I got this out of a book, to be mindful of the role you let comfort play in your life. I think it's okay to be comfortable, and we all need to practice, uh, you know, practice a little bit of patience, and practice slowing down from time to time. But slowing down in itself can be uncomfortable. And I think you've got to just be mindful of how much you let easy flow into your life, right? Because things that are good are often hard. And so, I that's my belief is you've got to be intentional about leaning into discomfort. And you can see that across any kind of great company, great sports team, great athlete, great leader, whatever it may be. The amount of hard work and effort they put into things, and how just combative they were to comfort in their lives. And I think being um intentionally leaning into discomfort leads to greatness. And
Mhm.
so those are kind of my three things. I think everyone has to have their three things, and you can have more, but three's about the limit of what I can absorb. So, that would be, the my advice, or what I see as, what makes great leaders is just having that belief system, and truly believing in it, and acting intentionally on it every day.
And going off of that, what advice would you give someone besides those 3 or maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more about stepping into their first leadership role? Or is there a moment for you that stands out that kind of shaped how you are as a leader today?
Yeah, I've gotten my first leadership role early on at Diamondback. I was still fairly early in my career. I was young, and we were in the middle of the fire at that time, right? And so I started off in a completions manager role, and had just a couple of I guess direct reports, but I didn't see them as necessarily direct reports. I kind of saw us as a team. Yeah, I was a leader of the team, but we were a team that was fighting a lot of hard fights every day. And I did a terrible job at leading. You know, uh, One of those folks still works here, and he can probably tell you a lot of stories of those early days. But I think the lessons I learned from that was, first, practice patience. That's true for any leader, and it's hard no matter how long you've led. I bet you can ask the greatest leaders how hard it is to practice patience, and they're going to tell you it's one of the hardest things. And then secondly, I think this is something that you learn to do really well as a leader over time. But um, Travis always said these words, and I've taken them to heart: is trust but verify. You want to
Mhm.
trust your people to do what they need to do, and to do it their way, and to solve the problems how they see they should be solved. But you got to verify that it's being done up to your expectations. And the best way to do that is to do it without them kind of knowing, kind of do it in the shadows, right? And everybody's got their own ways of doing that, but you have to make sure you have that feedback loop, and that there's a verification process, and you can do it without micromanaging. And that's a hard balance, but I think it's really key to being a good leader. And then the third thing I'll say is work on building relationships with your team. It's really hard to be a leader when everything is transactional.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, I don't know that it's even possible. So you know, meaningful relationships are very important. And if you can build relationships with your team such that your team leads you, versus you having to lead the team, that's the ultimate. That's the golden standard, right? Where you're not having to be out there trying to kind of solve all these problems as a leader. In fact, you're not really having to do anything but show up, and just be a part of the discussion. And yeah, there's maybe some strategy setting or whatever, but you're letting the team kind of lead you in the direction that we need to go, because ultimately you trust them, they trust you, and there's a meaningful relationship there, and there's honest and meaningful conversation that can occur, and it's not a transactional thing. It's something that there's a two-way, kind of an emotional connection
Mhm.
there. And that's really, really hard to do for some people and really easy to do for other people, but it's very important to becoming a great leader.
What was it like for you growing as a leader under the leadership of Travis?
Uh, I mean, I owe that man everything, from my leadership ability. He's an incredible leader, an incredible person. He's built, in my opinion, the best oil and gas company in history, with what we've been able to accomplish. Uh, and he did that not by um, achieving things, with his intellect or his ability. He did that through leading people. And everything I know as a leader, every good thing I know, and every fault I've overcome has been through his guidance. There's, I call them Travisisms, but a long list of sayings and phrases, and whatever it may be, that all pertain to different ways you should lead or behave, that he has, and he's one of a kind, and I'm blessed to have been given the ability and the gift to have worked with him and for him for over a decade. And he'll always be a mentor to me and always be somebody I feel like I can reach out to, and when I'm struggling or when things are going well, and he's always gonna I know he'll always pick up the phone and he'll always be there to give some very, very good and much needed advice.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I owe nearly everything to him for my professional leadership, and my parents as well. They brought me up a certain way, and raised me with certain values that translated very well into Diamondback. And it's been a great fit, because of the way they raised me, and coupling that with Travis, kind of guiding me on here's how you can be an effective leader.
And at Diamondback, one of our top pillars is making the communities where we live and work a better place to be. So, what does community engagement mean to you as a COO?
You know, we've really focused on the school system and the disenfranchised in Midland. Those are two separate things, not one and the same. But I think that that stems from Travis, our founder, and what he saw, where his morals led him and where his values led him, and I think those two things are incredible, areas to focus on, and there's other directions we could go, but that's the directions we've set forth, and I think we've done a tremendous job, particularly around education, Diamondback, and I think what we're doing to help the disenfranchised. It's not just writing checks; it's sweat equity. What can we do? As individuals to lean into it, and lean into the discomfort a little bit, and help make this community better. Without a thriving community where people can feel like their families can thrive and that they can thrive as people, they can't come to work every day and be the best version of themselves. So we really have to be intentional about, hey, we've got to continue to make Midland a better community, and Midland's already a great community. So we got to, it's a high bar to set, but
Mhm.
we've got this goal that can Midland become, the best family town in America. That's a great place to do business, and I think it's well on its way there, and getting better every day.
Are there any community partnerships or initiatives that you think help strengthen our region?
Yeah, I think you know from a industry specific thing, the PSP has done really incredible work in the community. That could not be done by one company, and it's a testament to this industry and its willingness to come together when there's a problem that's too big for one person to solve. And what PSP has done around roads, what it's still trying to do around healthcare and around education is quite frankly remarkable, and I think it'll be remembered as one of the greatest kind of initiatives that this industry's ever set forth upon. And then, company specific with Diamondback, yeah, I love the Rolling Baristas because it engages our staff with, education and what we're doing around education, and partially the disenfranchised in Midland. And I think, it brings that physical, connection to that. So where, you can see it happening, you can see the impact that's happening with our involvement. And I think just our involvement in education, in public schools, and trying to be helpful where we can. We're not trying to um, make decisions for the leadership of the school system. We're just trying to provide the resources where they may not be able to get the resources themselves. Things like our STEM Academy, the robotic support we're doing are all fantastic. But I have a special place in my heart for the Rolling Baristas. Just seeing the joy that those students bring to the office, 2 days a week when they're in the office, and the attitude that they bring, They really exemplify what it is to be a Diamondbacker
Mhm.
with that, that just joy and the stewardship they bring to that task that they're doing. And, I said earlier, gotta make things a little better than where you found them, and they do that every day with what they're
They do,
doing,
yeah.
and it's really really incredible.
They truly make the work week better.
Yeah, they do.
And if you could leave listeners with one message about the future of energy, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I think energy is a foundation of the world we live in today. We need energy for everything we do that we enjoy. Um, and fossil fuel energy is really it's the behemoth, it's the king of energy. Not only is power generated from it, but most everything we know is made from fossil fuels. And so we've got a world that runs on energy and fossil fuel energy, and we should be excited about that, and the benefits that we bring to humanity, and the opportunities we bring to humanity through cheap, affordable, reliable energy. And just look at the over the past you know few generations. I think about my grandparents' generation and the way they had to live, coming out of the depression, and if you ask Western society today to live like that, we probably have a rebellion on our hands. So,
Mm.
it, and that's all because of access to cheap, affordable, reliable energy, and the output of that has been amount of technology that you we couldn't have even fathomed, a century ago, and these things make life easier, and our industry is the foundation of that, and so we should all be proud of that, and we should be happy about that, and we should talk about it more. So that's what I'll leave people with on the energy discussion, and we could have a whole nother podcast about it if we
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to.
Well, is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know for the end of this episode?
No, I just really want to tell everybody at Diamondback and everybody that takes the time to dial in or listen into this, that I really am appreciative of everything that you do for Diamondback and for the community. I appreciate uh, being able to be a part of it. Sometimes um, I feel like the C-suite gets the accolades, but we haven't really done any of the work. I really truly feel like the accolades should go to the people out there making the decisions. The closer you are to the wellhead, the more important you are in my mind. And I'm just blessed to be able to represent Diamondback, and hope that I can continue to represent Diamondback in a way that makes everybody proud, and I can do it in a way that demonstrates how proud all of our employees make me to come to work every day.
Well, Danny, we're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone, on behalf of Danny and myself, that does it for this episode of Fueling Tomorrow. We'll chat next time.